Yo, this is the sucker of the season. Some broke-ass, overweight otaku gets hit by the classic Truck-kun and reincarnates as the slimiest blonde pretty boy villain in a world where every OP character is a stacked absolute unit goddess. We talking Marvel rivals with curves on steroids, maids with thighs that end careers, and an ice queen straight out of Genshin, but with extra mommy frost. And the real female MC, so busted the author's straight up simping. In Marvel, sweaty balls might carry you to victory. Here, our boys got zero chance. You'd think getting tormented by these girls is a death sentence, right? Nah, bro. Tormented means the good kind, the premium, black card, step on me mommy kind. Red pill, blue pill, pick your poison cause this trash. Chad villain is getting dominated daily by mommy maid, emotionally wrecked by ice princess, and straight up bullied in the best way. Worst part, he sees the future. Locked in a basement dungeon, chained up, turned into one of these psycho waifu's personal toy, drained every night like a damn mana battery. I feel so bad for him. Yeah, right. I'd switch places in a heartbeat. Call me Captain Save a Ho. Even his dad dips to war and drops the nuke. When I'm back in a year, you better have put a baby in that maid. We need heirs. That's not parenting, that's running the bloodline like a pro. Now our weaklings gotta survive the rage of the absurdly OP female protagonist while dodging every yandere flag in the book. Can he pull it off? Spoiler alert, we're just here for the thick waifus wrecking him daily in glorious 4K. Let's get it. It all starts inside the Campbell family's castle. Our guy wakes up completely confused and immediately thinks, wait, didn't I just die in a car accident? He looks around and notices the place feels way too European to be a hospital or an afterlife waiting room. Then he checks the mirror and almost drops dead again. The face staring back at him looks like his own from when he was 17 or 18. Same features, same hair, just way better genetics, which makes zero sense because last time he checked, he was older, broke, and definitely not mirror friendly. At first, he assumes this is one of those sad midlife dreams you get when your life goes downhill. You know the what if I reincarnated and fixed everything kind. But then he decides to confirm it the worst possible way by grabbing a knife and cutting his finger. Blood pours out immediately. It hurts like hell, way too real. He even has to lick his finger to stop the bleeding, muttering that dreams are not supposed to feel like this. And that's when the memories hit him all at once. Turns out he didn't just reincarnate randomly. He woke up as Moon Campbell, a blonde noble villain from a story he read a long time ago. Not a hero, not a side character with potential, a disposable early game antagonist. In the original story, Moon loses his titles, gets kicked out of his family, and ends up as a beggar. His own father even warns him never to return or he'll be killed on sight. Apparently, Moon committed some serious crime, though the details are still fuzzy. Our guy facepalms hard. This isn't a coincidence. He straight up transmigrated into that Moon Campbell, the mentally challenged blonde villain who exists solely to make the real protagonist look better. And the story he remembers, it's called The Protagonist, the Strongest Woman in History. Yeah, you already know how this goes. It's your classic power fantasy, except the protagonist is a woman. Her family abandons her. She goes out into the world, grinds her stats, slays monsters, and becomes absurdly powerful. Moon Campbell shows up early on as a nuisance, sends people to mess with her, and gets absolutely steamrolled. She levels up, ruins his plan, and he gets exiled. 20 chapters later, nobody even remembers his name. Reincarnation is cool and all, but not when you're reborn as a narrative punching bag. Before he can spiral any harder, there's a knock on the door. A maid walks in and asks if something happened. He brushes it off, and she casually mentions that his clothes for tomorrow's banquet have already arrived. He tells her to leave him alone, but she notices the blood. When she realizes he's hurt, she immediately kneels down and starts cleaning his wound. And yup, she's way too nice about it. She gently tells him to stop hurting himself, clearly worried, clearly sincere. Our guy instantly starts blushing like an idiot. In his head, he's already deciding this is a core memory. She finishes up, spins around, tells him to take care, and leaves. The moment the door closes, he collapses into full otaku mode, covering his face, rolling on the bed, convinced this world is perfect because he has a cute, hardworking maid. Outside, the maid is equally confused because Moon saying thank you is apparently not normal behavior, which tells you everything you need to know about how terrible he was before. Now that he's calmer, Moon starts thinking logically. How does someone born handsome, rich, and noble still manage to ruin everything? Simple, by provoking the protagonist. Specifically, the event that gets him exiled involves trying to drug the third princess. And now that he knows how that ends, all he has to do is avoid that path entirely. Then it hits him, the banquet, tomorrow. That's where everything goes wrong in the original story. He immediately starts panicking, rolling around on the bed, calling out to the system, a goddess, a monk, a grandpa, anyone willing to give him a cheat ability. Because if the banquet is tomorrow, that means he's already done a lot of awful things behind the scenes. All he can do now is hope the protagonist doesn't go too far when she sees him. And if she does, well, he really hopes she's wearing black tights. The man has priorities. Eventually, he settles on a plan. The moment he sees her, he'll sprint over, drop to his knees, bow 3 times, and beg for forgiveness. Right then, something smacks him in the head. He turns around ready to throw hands and sees a small book lying on the bed. Obviously, he assumes this is his long-awaited cheat item. He grabs it, fully convinced God finally remembered him. Infinite knowledge, power, a rewritten fate. He opens it, it's blank, and while he's wondering if it needs activation, the book suddenly attacks him. His head starts bleeding, a drop of blood lands on the page, and a dark aura erupts. His vision blurs, and the next thing he knows, he's restrained. Arms, legs, neck. His body is battered, exhausted, and in pain. A creepy girl appears and tells him he's been asleep for a long time. When he complains about the pain, she calmly says that suffering is inevitable when learning a lesson. She says she didn't want things to end up this way, but his cruelty and selfishness left her no choice. And just like that, Moon realizes this book isn't a blessing, it's a warning. That twisted vision explains everything. The only reason he was locked up, tortured, and corrected like that was because it was the only way he could belong solely to her. But recently, his heart had started to change, and that was unacceptable. Still, no matter how long it took, she planned to purify him of that unwanted affection and keep him forever. Then bam, a barrage of stabs. And just like that, he snaps awake back in his room. So yeah, the protagonist might actually prefer him as a villain, but if he leans into that role, his life becomes a disaster. If he doesn't, it's already a disaster. Either way, he's screwed. Now he's left wondering whether that was a dream from the past or a preview of the future. After all, the vision only started once his blood touched the book. Maybe it was a warning, triggered by the wrong choice. When he looks at the book again, new words appear. Do not alter fate. He gets it immediately. If he had gone through with his genius plan of kneeling 3 times and begging for forgiveness, that vision was the result. Suddenly getting kicked out and living as a beggar doesn't sound so bad compared to being chained up and stabbed for eternity. That realization lights a fire under him. He's a modern, rational guy, and he's not about to let some pre-written plot dictate his future. He's going to use everything he knows to change his fate, and maybe even the country's. That said, he's literally sitting there eating premium meat, thinking about how insanely good noble life is. And yeah, losing all this would absolutely suck. Sitting beside him is his mother, Noise Campbell, who somehow looks like she's still 18 and casually asks why he seems so cheerful today. His father, Lon, comments that he's probably excited about tomorrow's ceremony since it's one of the most important moments of his life. Moon just nods along, trying not to look suspicious. Meanwhile, his mom complains that she doesn't want him going to the banquet because all the noble girls will swarm him. Lon shuts that down immediately, reminding her he's already engaged to Princess Celia, and any girl foolish enough to try something would just make her jealous. His mom pouts and says she doesn't like Celia anyway. Not cute, not good enough for her son. Moon is completely baffled. Why do his parents trust him this much when he was objectively terrible? Then it clicks. Princess Celia, the 3rd princess, the same one he tried to drug, one of the key figures tied to his downfall. In the original story, everyone adored her. Here, she's the textbook tsundere, cold outside, warm inside. Got it. That realization hits harder than expected. His parents aren't monsters, they're actually decent people. He wasn't exiled out of cruelty. His father just didn't want a rotten son dragging the family down, and that only makes Moon more determined to change things. If possible, he wants to protect his family, even if it means taking risks himself. The real reason the Campbell family gets destroyed later is because rumors spread that his father ordered the princess's assassination, so logically, Moon needs to take the blame and make sure no one else gets pulled into it. Problem is, the ceremony is tomorrow. There's no time to slowly rewrite events. What's bothering him most is that he doesn't even know how the drug comes into play. Does someone give it to him? Does he already have it? Something feels off. While he's stuck thinking, he bumps into a maid in the hallway. She slips awkwardly, spilling black tea all over him, and immediately freezes. The moment she looks up, she's already convinced her life is over. Fired, homeless, probably eating dog food by tomorrow. That's when Moon realizes just how bad his reputation really really is. Instead of exploding, he tells her not to worry, no punishment. Then, somehow, he pulls her into a hug and tells her to calm down. She's completely confused, and honestly, so is everyone watching. Those hands are doing way too much. Before things get weirder, Anne shows up and calls out to him. He asks the maid's name, Noel, and tells Anne to take care of her. Anne reminds him they're too busy preparing for tomorrow to slow down now. Moon casually tells her to hire more staff, because somehow a mansion this massive is understaffed. Anne pauses, then bows and agrees. As Moon walks away, Noel whispers that it's strange. He never let anyone help before. Always said people were dirty. Anne agrees. Something about him has changed, and maybe, just maybe, it would be best to move the plan forward before things spiral further out of control. Back in his room, Moon starts tearing through boxes. Whatever drug was meant for the third princess had to be high grade, expensive, and strong enough to affect a royal mage. That's when he finds it, a black market card. So that's it. That must be how the poison was obtained. Later that night, the scene shifts to the capital's commercial district. Moon tells the others to wait while he goes to buy a few things. He slips through the streets, following a route he barely remembers from the story, until he reaches a hidden door. He mutters the password, shows his credentials, and is welcomed inside. This is the loopholed black market. Inside the black market, it's exactly what you'd expect, and worse. Potions, rare ingredients, magical creatures, even synthetic monsters. And of course, because this is that kind of place, slaves. One of the protagonist's future allies actually gets bought here, but that's not important right now. Moon has bigger problems. He steps into a private room and is greeted by someone wearing a cat mask who immediately asks what he's looking for. According to them, they've got every potion imaginable. Moon asks for something very specific. Colorless, odorless, especially effective on mages, and capable of knocking someone out for hours. He insists he's just buying it and won't actually do anything to the girl. And honestly, I'm confused too. He's clearly trying to follow the story, but at this point, even he doesn't seem fully sure what his plan is. The cat-masked seller jokes that he must be planning a fun night and even offers to recommend a few slaves. Moon immediately says he's leaving, but the seller stops him and says to wait. She'll get the potion. Moon thinks to himself that there's absolutely no way to tell if this person is male or female, which is fair. Whoever designed this character made it deliberately impossible to guess. Let's keep it neutral before someone gets canceled. While the seller grabs the potion, Moon can't help noticing how unreal their body is. Let's be honest, this whole operation is probably being run by a ridiculously attractive woman with terrifying influence. And right on cue, the door opens again. Another customer walks in, and judging by the black tights, you already know what kind of scene this is. Moon clearly notices too. The attention to detail is strong with this one. The newcomer says she's here to buy an extremely strong drug, one that targets mages and leaves no trace behind. The seller looks confused. This is a potion she rarely sells, and suddenly two people want it on the same night. Moon is caught off guard. He didn't realize women had tastes like that too. He briefly feels bad for whoever the victim is, but there's nothing he can do about it. The seller places 2 vials on the table and says this is the potion everyone's been asking for. Even though the liquid itself is brightly colored, once mixed with wine, it becomes completely unnoticeable. Just a few drops are enough to knock out someone for 2 to 3 hours. Moon is shocked by how strong it is. The seller even suggests he try it himself. He'll just sleep on the floor for 3 hours and still have to pay full price. Speaking of price, it costs 130,000 Amelia. Moon's fine with that. The masked woman, however, says she doesn't have the money, but she does have another way to pay. She hands over a letter. The seller hesitates, saying it's hard to accept something of that value so casually. She reads it, pauses, and asks if what's written is really true. The woman tells her to verify it herself using her own skills. Mysterious or not, let's be real, it's obviously that person. The seller nods and hands over the potion. The woman thanks her and leaves. Moon just tells the seller to charge everything to his card. She hands him an extra potion as a bonus, saying that if he combines the two, the experience will be even better. Moon thanks her, puts it in his bag, and asks about the information the other woman gave her. The seller casually says they're old friends, and if he wants that info, it'll cost him 900,000 Amelia. Moon doesn't even hesitate. That's 7 times the price, and he knows a scam when he sees one. He's from the modern world. He's not falling for that. He turns around and walks out. As the door closes, the seller smiles and says she hopes to see him again soon. Then she removes her mask. Surprise! It was a woman all along. Now fully aware of what's about to go down at the Campbell mansion, she starts wondering who she should sell the information to. The smartest move? Sell it to both sides and watch the chaos unfold. Honestly, she looks like the type who would do exactly that. The next night at the Campbell Palace, clueless nobles wander around pretending everything's normal. Moon stands right in the middle of it. A mustached noble approaches with his third daughter, saying it would be wonderful if she could meet young Master Campbell. The girl glances at Moon, starts trembling, and immediately runs off yelling that her mother is calling her. That didn't look like shyness, that was straight up fear. The father apologizes awkwardly, saying she's a bit timid. Moon says it's fine, but now he's noticing a pattern. None of the girls seem happy to see him. His reputation has clearly done permanent damage. Still, his father, Lon, places a hand on his shoulder and tells him he's impressed. Moon has been behaving well, stepping up, and tonight he'll stop being a boy and become a man of the Campbell family. Moon thanks him and promises to do his best. Suddenly, a voice calls for silence. The third in line to the throne of the Leopold Empire is about to arrive. Blessed with the purity of snow, the ice goddess herself, the third princess, Celia. And yes, she looks suspiciously like Paimon from Genshin Impact. Lon excuses himself to mingle and asks Moon to take care of her. Moon walks right up and greets the princess, saying it's been a while. He compliments her appearance, and she actually has little sparkles in her hair. No joke, the girl has insane presence. She thanks him politely, but something feels off. He's being way too gentle, way too respectful. He suggests she must be tired from her trip and recommends she go rest. As she walks past, every noble bows deeply. Meanwhile, Celia's thinking the same thing everyone else is. What is wrong with this guy today? Why is he suddenly polite? Nearby, Moon overhears nobles gossiping about an illegitimate daughter who apparently dueled her husband. It's messy, confusing, and clearly judgmental. Someone shuts it down, saying it's inappropriate to talk like that. And right on cue, another arrival draws attention. The protagonist of this world, Ariel Bouard. Black hair, standard design. Pretty basic, honestly, but that tracks. Protagonists usually look normal by default. Ariel greets Moon casually, and he awkwardly responds, welcoming her. Suddenly, a large man steps in, demanding how she dares speak so informally to the young master. Moon immediately shuts that down, telling him to stop and saying she can speak however she wants. At that moment, Ariel almost short-circuits. Ariel is completely thrown off. This is the same guy who used to treat her like some dirty, illegitimate nobody, and now he suddenly knows how to pronounce her name correctly. Even her friend is watching in confusion, until Moon casually reaches out and calls for Miss Leah. That alone startles her. Then he says her full name, Leah Angel, and that's when Ariel snaps. He reaches for her hand, but Ariel slaps it away and tells him to stop scheming. She grabs him by the collar and warns him to listen carefully. She's only here because of his father, so he better not try anything shady. If he even thinks about doing something awful to her or Leah, she'll make sure he never walks out of this place alive. And with that, she storms off. Honestly, I already like her. She's putting on the righteous hero act, but let's be real. She's absolutely waiting for him to mess up. Moon just sighs to himself. Just like he expected, dealing with the protagonist is going to be a nightmare. Still, he doesn't really care. Once tonight is over, she'll go her way, he'll go his, and ideally, they'll never see each other again. Not long after, it turns out the whole banquet is actually his birthday celebration. Surprise. He just turned 18. Everyone applauds, calling him amazing, and he barely keeps it together. No time to panic though. He spots the Paimon lookalike standing near the mirror and walks over, politely introducing himself. He apologizes in advance and asks for the honor of a dance. Yes, he really did that. She accepts it, of course, and let's be honest, her outfit is carrying some serious firepower. The accessories alone look like they're about to cause casualties. Meanwhile, the nobles stand around stiff and awkward while Ariel watches from the side, casually eating cake and staring as Moon dances with the third princess. She compliments his steps, and he admits he's still a beginner. She points out how much he's changed and says he's finally acting like a proper noble. What really stands out to her, though, is how different his earlier invitation was. Warrior, I shall grant you the mercy of a dance. Absolute menace behavior. He quickly tells her to forget that and leave it in the past. The music plays, they dance, compliments are exchanged. We're officially deep in the plot now. Then Moon slides in closer behind her, like he's calling in backup in a dungeon raid. That's when she says they need to talk privately. She already knows this marriage is just a political arrangement between their families. Moon agrees and says if she wants to cancel it, they can work together to make that happen. She pauses, then says they'll discuss it later, and casually suggests they head to his room right now. Sir, he is not ready. Before he can even process it, she's already dragging him away. Off to the side, two mischievous maids watch everything unfold, whispering about how the mentally challenged young master just walked off with that girl. They exchange looks and agree they need to act fast. That area is Lionheart territory. Inside the room, Moon offers her a drink. She politely declines, saying she can't have even a single drop, and now Moon is officially in trouble. He has no idea how the protagonist originally won her over, and on top of that, he still needs to use the potion, but if she's not drinking anything, he has no clue how this plan is supposed to work. He asks what she prefers. She says coffee, then immediately changes her mind and asks for black tea instead. Turns out black tea or wine are the only options available here anyway. She seems a bit puzzled, but Moon waves it off and says he'll go get it. She sits there confused, watching him act way too enthusiastic about preparing tea. Meanwhile, Moon is absolutely slipping the potion in. I thought it was just a sleeping potion, but nope. One vial makes someone fall in love. There's another vial too, but he decides not to use it. He has no idea what that one does. Right then, she calls out to him, startling him. He spins around, says it's almost ready, and spills some of the potion everywhere. Turns out the second vial was an aphrodisiac. He's relieved that none of the potions leave a magical trace, until he realizes a good chunk of it spilled onto the floor. There goes his backup plan of selling some later for cash. When he brings the tea over, we see someone peeking through the window. The third princess notices something strange. The Campbell family's black tea looks unusually red and shiny. Moon quickly lies and says it's an extremely rare Eastern herb, a true delicacy. She shrugs and tells him to drink it first. Moon panics. What? You don't trust me? Moon Campbell, honest young noble. She calmly replies that servants should always taste the drink first. That's just basic noble etiquette. He lifts the cup, but she suddenly snatches it away and says his looks better. They should switch. One sip later, she's already wobbling. I expected chaos. Instead, she drops the cup and collapses straight onto the sofa, completely out cold. Moon realizes it was smart to make sure both cups were dosed. According to the original story, the protagonist should burst into the room any second now, so Moon gets to work making himself look as suspicious as possible, lowering her skirt slightly, undoing part of her outfit, taking off his own shirt. Anyone walking in would immediately assume the worst. Perfect setup. Except, nothing happens. Minutes pass, then half an hour, still no one shows up. That's strange, because in the original story, Ariel storms in almost immediately. So what changed? In the story, the protagonist is supposed to be walking through the halls right now. In the original story, Ariel only walks in on the scene because someone bumps into her and spills tea on her dress. That delay is what sends her toward Moon's room, and that's when it clicks for him. That person was probably Noel. Earlier, Moon told Anne to let Noel rest, which completely broke the chain of events. One tiny change, and now the entire timeline is falling apart. And of course, right when he's still committed to his master plan, the girl on the sofa starts waking up. She sits up slowly, and Moon immediately realizes what went wrong. The aphrodisiac must have been in the cup she snatched from him. Suddenly, the temperature in the room drops fast. Before he can react, a hand clamps onto his face and slams him into the floor with a blast of freezing magic. He panics and begs Celia to calm down, saying he can explain, but she shuts him down instantly. No explanation, no mercy. Now he's really starting to realize something is off with her. He tries to say he'll go get a doctor, but it's already too late. His wrists are pinned. She murmurs that her body feels cold, and his feels warm. He begs her to calm down again. Bad move. She leans in and kisses him. At this point, Moon is praying, please let Ariel show up and save me, because if she doesn't, this situation is about to go way too far. Meanwhile, Ariel is walking through the halls, annoyed about her stained dress. She hears strange noises nearby, but before she can investigate, Anne appears and tells her this area is restricted. Ariel thinks that's suspicious, but Anne smoothly offers to clean her dress instead. One spell later, the dress looks brand new. Ariel is genuinely impressed that even the maids here can use magic. Then another maid casually mentions a patichi cake being served at the party. Ariel instantly lights up, thanking her cheerfully. Anne smiles, then turns around with that unmistakable danger look. Ariel briefly senses something wrong, like the smell of blood in the air, but shrugs it off. She's in the Duke's mansion after all. Besides, she's confident Celia can handle a spoiled noble on her own, and nothing beats cake. Elsewhere, those same shady maids are talking. One asks if Ariel was the target. The gray-haired one says no. Ariel was supposed to be handled by someone called Number 9, but she already killed him despite him being higher ranked. The darker-haired maid urges her to hurry. If Campbell shows up, the mission could fail. Her partner just smirks. She already checked. Everything is in motion. Back in the room, Moon is barely holding together, scratched up, exhausted, confused. Then Celia wakes fully, puts a sword to his face, and demands his final words. He tries to calm her down, but she coldly says he'll die without saying anything. Panic sets in. He doesn't even know if reincarnation is guaranteed anymore, so he blurts out that everything he did came from genuine love that almost gets his neck sliced open. She calls him disgusting. He apologizes and says nothing even happened, but that just makes it worse. She snaps that he's filthy for calling drugs and deception sincere. If he had actually tried to win her over honestly, maybe she would have accepted the marriage. Instead, he chose the sleaziest route possible. She orders him to get on his knees. Then something outside the door catches her attention. She grabs him by the neck and forces him to order everyone outside to leave. After throwing him to the floor, she tells him to get dressed and deal with whoever's there, because he's gonna die anyway. Moon realizes he's completely screwed. 3 options: die by Celia's hand, get executed by the king, or end up trapped in some unknown dungeon by a mysterious lunatic. And speaking of lunatics, the door opens. A maid stands there, casually saying they spent some time together earlier, and she brought him food. Moon freezes. He thanks her, but then realizes he's never seen her before. She claims she was hired to help with the banquet, which makes no sense because no new staff were supposed to be hired. Then she suddenly lunges forward and knocks him down. In that instant, Moon realizes her real target isn't him, it's Celia. The maid leaps in with 2 knives. Explosion. Ice magic erupts. When the smoke clears, Celia is still standing. Furious, she demands to know if her idiot brother sent this assassin. The maid calmly replies that the details are confidential. Elsewhere, golden orbs float in a dark room, whispering that the princess will be killed tonight at the Campbell estate, and that this will mark the end of someone. Whoever this white-haired girl is, she clearly knows exactly what's happening. Back in the room, the assassin retreats, admitting Celia's magic density is far higher than expected, but her expression shifts when she hears the incantation. Celia charges in with an ice spear and nearly skewers her through the skull. As the two clash violently, Moon can only think one thing: when gods fight, mortals suffer. He tries to escape, but the door is sealed shut. A barrier spell is blocking everything. That's when it hits him, the sudden decision to hire outside staff. The only way this attack could have been planned in advance is if someone leaked information from inside the mansion. An attack barely misses him. All he can do now is pray Celia wins. But then he looks at her, still standing, injured, gripping that spear with murderous intent, and wonders if that's really a good outcome, because she might kill him too. And honestly, maybe it wouldn't even be that bad if she died here. No one would ever know. The maid admits it outright. Celia really is a genius, and Celia confirms it herself, saying she can already feel someone using gravitational magic to interfere with her movement, meaning this isn't a solo attack. There's someone else involved. She demands to know who's behind it, warning that if the maid doesn't talk, both of them are dying here. The maid just calmly repeats what the rumors say. Celia truly is a genius. That's when Celia snaps and tells her to shut up and speak. If she wants even a chance at being spared, she needs to say who's pulling the strings. The maid finally answers that she was never here to kill anyone, just to buy time. And right on cue, the entire room starts shaking. The gray-haired maid announces that the chamber is now completely sealed. The other one pulls out a vial and declares she's offering the lives of 100 children as a sacrifice to the Lord of the Melted World. Celia recognizes it instantly, the power of a dark god. The mage smiles and asks the god to descend and suppress this world. Red energy floods the room and slams Celia into the wall. If those rats show up now, even she won't stand a chance. The maid confirms it. They may be rats, but the real target tonight is the princess. She goes in for another strike, but Celia grabs a dagger from Moon and blocks the attack. The assassin freezes. Celia's tights are torn, her body battered, exhausted, but she avoided every vital point. Even so, she's running on fumes. One brutal kick sends her crashing to the floor, but Celia isn't done. She forces herself back up. The assassin says she'll make her death painless and lunges in for the final blow. Blood sprays because Moon jumps in front of her and tanks the hit head on. No blocking, no deflection, just raw instinct. And suddenly, everything clicks. Remember how Ariel got delayed earlier? How Anne kept her occupied? Yeah, it was Anne. The signs were all there. She's literally on the cover of the story. Anyway, back to the chaos. Anne calls out Moon's name, and Celia demands to know why. Moon's on the floor coughing blood, remembering that earlier, Anne told him he could leave. He could have run, but he didn't. He calls out to Anne, asking what she thinks she's doing. She coldly tells the useless fool to stop getting in the way. But before she can finish, Celia steps past Moon and slashes her neck clean. Anne drops to her knees. Celia declares it's over. Now Moon is barely clinging to life. Celia kneels beside him and finally understands. If he protected her like that, then these weren't assassins he hired. What really shakes her is that he jumped in without thinking. If she had died, no one would have ever known what he did, but he just says none of that matters anymore. Just like she said earlier, he chose to act like a real man. That line hits hard. Of course, this is Celia. She coldly tells him that based on his pulse, he has enough strength to say maybe 3 more sentences. promises. He should make them count. She'll deliver his final message to the Duke. Moon reaches up, touches her face, and says the truth. He's sorry. In the end, he really did have feelings for her. Then his arm drops. If he actually died there, it would have been legendary. But Celia isn't having it. She calls him a bastard and says he doesn't get to die after apologizing like that. Not after everything he's done. She tells him he's going to live and pay for every single thing. In the void, Moon floats alone, dizzy and burning with heat. Even though he tried to make better choices, death still came for him. At least this ending was his own, better than following the original storyline. Then black energy appears beside him, forming a panel that breaks down his progress and arrogance, envy, greed, shamelessness, and laziness. Yeah, the 7 deadly sins. He's sitting at minus 90% gluttony, 99% envy, and 50% arrogance. Pages flip in the book and it tells him to keep trying, for now. Moon asks why the stupid book didn't show up before he died. Instead of an answer, the scene shifts. Ash drifts through the sewers. Someone mutters that Campbell wasn't the real target. Then the voice cuts in, asking what she thinks she did to his son. Uh-oh. Lon Campbell appears, radiating pure Lionheart aura. The assassin starts shaking instantly. Calmly, he says he wasn't expecting guests in his house. She wasn't invited, so what was she doing there? And she better start talking. What did she do to his son? Back to the bedroom. Moon wakes up and Anne is sitting right beside him. The same Anne we now know is extremely dangerous. She asks if the young master is feeling better and whether he needs a doctor. As he tries to stand, pain explodes in his chest and he collapses back onto the bed. He apologizes, saying his legs feel weak. Internally, he's already on edge. He can afford to be polite, but trusting her is not an option. Anne tells him his fiance asked her to take care of him, so she'll be staying close for a while. Then she casually says she's going to help him bathe and immediately reaches for his clothes. Moon panics and tells her to slow down. He literally just started feeling better. She agrees, says she'll respect his independence, then picks him up anyway and carries him to the bathroom. A little later, they're back in the room. Anne explains that he was unconscious for 3 days. Princess Celia personally asked her to look after him. He barely survived. Massive blood loss and oxygen deprivation. He was lucky Celia used magic to keep him alive. Moon realizes she probably didn't mention the potion incident, but then Anne adds that the princess did say something important. What Anne actually reveals is that they uncovered the entire assassination plot. Moon's father captured one of the attackers and literally tortured the truth out of them. The only real issue left was that they technically had to apologize to the king, since his daughter was nearly killed inside the Campbell estate. But here's the strange part. Moon wasn't punished at all. Apparently, Princess Celia said something directly to the king. Whatever she told him was enough to get Moon completely forgiven, and just like that, I saved you about 15 massive dialogue bubbles, because wow, the story really loves to drag sometimes. Moon finally collapses back onto the bed, genuinely relieved for the first time. Things didn't end nearly as badly as he expected, but Anne immediately leans in way too close and asks why he looks so tense. Did something happen between him and the princess in that room? Remembering the whole something warm situation, Moon panics and denies everything, saying there's no way he'd do something that reckless. He'd be dead already. Anne laughs it off and tells him to drink the medicine while it's still warm. The second it touches his mouth, he gags and complains that it tastes horrible. He asks what that disgusting stuff even is. Anne calmly explains it's a tonic meant to restore his blood and help him recover. Outside the room, 3 maids whisper to each other, shocked that he's acting so different. Normally, whenever he eats something sour, he lashes out and whips people. Today, though, totally calm. They debate reporting it to the madam, but Moon tells them to stay quiet and not make a big deal out of it. It's just medicine. Then he downs the whole thing on the spot. A few seconds later, he throws it all up, and I mean all of it. That was not normal vomit. That looked like straight up crude oil. Worst part, he's going to have to drink that stuff 2 more times if he wants to fully recover. Anne casually suggests she could make him pancakes and tea if he wants. She even hands him a slice of cake. Moon thanks her, saying she's way too kind and honestly deserves a raise. She lifts her skirt just a little, says she appreciates the compliment, and heads out to finish her duties. On the way, she tells him to check the nightstand. There's a letter waiting for him. Right before she leaves, Moon calls out to her. Earlier, she mentioned he'd already taken that sour medicine 4 times. But that doesn't make sense. The moment it hits his mouth, he throws up. How is that possible? Anne answers calmly. She put sugar in her own mouth and passed it to him. Moon freezes. Then the image fully clicks in his head. He screams into his pillow, but honestly, lying there all cozy, he starts thinking that if this is what life with Big Sis is like, maybe things aren't so bad. Then reality slaps him again. He also kissed Celia. He grabs the letter, which says she now considers him half a man. He sighs in relief. At least the legal nightmare was avoided. Not long after, his mom rushes in, emotional and relieved that he survived such a dangerous situation. Moon downplays it, saying it wasn't a big deal. She tells him to look in the mirror. There's a literal crater in his chest. He shrugs and says it's just a scratch. As long as he lived, it's fine. His dad agrees, saying scars like that are medals of honor. Thanks to Moon saving the princess, a massive disaster was avoided. Honestly, thinking about it now, there isn't a single normal maid in this world. Even the one standing nearby looks like she could bench press a dragon. Moon asks his father to explain everything that happened. His dad says they captured all 3 assassins. It took serious effort, but they eventually talked. They weren't professional killers or elite warriors, just followers of someone called the Withering King. Moon doesn't recognize the name at all. His father explains he's an ancient dark god tied to countless atrocities. If the price is high enough, his followers will do anything, even kill their own parents. But Moon doesn't need to worry. His father already ordered them completely wiped out. Moon is stunned. His mother reminds him that his father earned his position through pure military merit. Without hesitation, Moon says he's proud to be his son, and he means it. What he really wants to know, though, is whether they found out who was truly behind all of this. His father shakes his head. Every captured follower was bound by a curse. The moment they tried to say the mastermind's name, they burst into flames and died instantly. The black market was completely destroyed, but no solid evidence was recovered. Moon finds that part interesting, because in the original story, his father also destroyed the black market. Back then, after his favorite maid was killed, he went completely berserk. Royal Knights burned the city for 3 months straight. Even the sewers ran red. At least this time, it ended quickly. On the flip side, this event was supposed to be a huge moment for Ariel, a classic protagonist growth arc. She fights waves of enemies, her aura evolves, and she gets massively stronger. But now, that never happens, and all of it changed just because Moon gave a maid 2 days off. Later that night, everyone tells him to rest, but he can't. The story has completely gone off the rails, and the more things change, the less he can rely on what he knows from the original book. So he comes up with a plan: survive, avoid that horrific future where he's tied to a table, get stronger, and most importantly, stop trusting the book. Then he pauses and admits, yeah, that plan kind of sucks. The truth is, he still doesn't know who that girl in his vision was. It wasn't Ariel, it wasn't Celia, so who the hell was it? Moon drops onto the bed and decides there's no point overthinking everything. For now, the priority is simple: get stronger. As the son of a duke, he has access to more resources than most people could dream of. The problem is that all of it is painfully conventional. Even worse, the original owner of this body spent an entire year at a prestigious academy and walked away with nothing but a trash tier light spell. Still, this is the son of that man. There's no way he's completely talentless, right? Even so, Moon knows the hard truth. He'll never reach the same level as the protagonist's crew. In this world, Ariel is literally chosen by the gods. Normal people can't touch that. Celia alone received divine authority from a cold goddess and has been scaling non-stop ever since. That kind of power isn't something you beat through effort alone. And Ariel, she ends up blessed by over 10 insanely beautiful elemental spirits. Not 1, 10. What a miserable life. Actually, his life might be worse. No matter how hard he trains, surpassing people like that is impossible. But that doesn't mean he's just going to lie down and accept it. At the very least, he needs enough strength to defend himself, especially if Ariel ever decides to come after him. The good news is that he might be able to unlock new talents. He snaps his fingers, and the black book appears instantly, smacking him straight in the crotch. He yells at the stupid thing to stop showing up like that. Then he hears a strange whistling sound as the book opens and starts flipping pages on its own. It begins retelling everything that's happened over the last few days, in way too much detail, and somehow the way it's written makes him sound like a creepy mastermind plotting something horrible. Thanks for that. That's when he notices something strange. One word in the text, assassin, starts glowing red. Suddenly a weird energy surrounds him. He shouts at the book to give a warning next time, and just like that, he's no longer in his room. He's somewhere else. This place isn't the dungeon from before. It feels like another space inside the book. Before he can process it, footsteps approach from behind. He turns around and it's her again. The same girl who already wrecked him once. No build up, no mercy. One clean strike to the neck, lights out. He wakes up back in bed without even understanding what happened. Dropped in one hit. The book stirs again, and this time it shows results. Dagger combat proficiency at 1%, shadow step at 0.5%. Finally, he's found his actual combat abilities in this messed up world. Moon is fired up, convinced this hack is gonna be completely broken. Later that night, he's lying in bed muttering about how he barely survived. Apparently, he lasted 3 whole seconds. He checks again, and sure enough, both proficiencies went up by 1%. Now it clicks. clicks. These skills really are busted. Maybe the book records abilities from enemies he faces, or maybe from techniques he witnesses. He's not totally sure. If it were just sight-based, he should have already learned Celia's ice magic, but that probably doesn't count since it comes from a goddess. What he does know is that he's thinking of a seriously strong ability right now, and it's only a matter of time before those dagger skills are fully his. The book immediately answers by smacking him in the face. Then boom, he's kicked, slashed across the chest, torn apart, and killed again. Outside the room, Anne knocks gently and calls his name. When she peeks inside and sees him buried under the blankets, she smiles. She says it's funny, he still sleeps the same way he did as a child. Such a cute little boy. She casts a heat-preserving spell and decides not to wake him yet. Yeah, that smile is absolutely fake. There's no way she's not terrifying. As soon as she leaves, Moon pops out from under the covers, grumbling that the cursed book hit him right in the groin again. Cheap tricks or not, he's not stopping. He dives right back in, determined to keep fighting until he beats that girl. By sunrise, he's already tried 185 times. That's not skill, that's pure mental resilience. He dies every single attempt, but now he's lasting 30 seconds. Eventually, exhaustion hits him like a truck. He bumps into his tea, knocks it over, and collapses onto the floor, completely drained. Still, he finally found a way to grow stronger. The only downside, dying in that illusion hurts a lot, way more than he expected. He thought he could just ignore the fear and reset, but nope, that's not how this works. After a full night of grinding, he checks the results. Dagger technique has reached level 2. Shadow step is at 11%. That's nowhere near real assassin level, but the fact that he can grow like this is huge. He gets excited and activates shadow step, dashing across the room like a rocket, practically leaving smoke trails behind him. Then pain hits. His foot is scorched. Now he's wondering how that assassin girl managed to use this technique without flinching, and then it clicks. Of course, these techniques are way too advanced for him. He's still just a tier 1 fighter. Back at the academy, he learned that to handle skills like this, you need to channel ki throughout your body to reinforce it and reduce recoil, but only level 2 warriors can do that. So now the plan is clear. He needs a proper teacher, preferably a hot one. He immediately starts daydreaming about Saint Maria from the academy, but there's a problem. While he knows plenty of powerful mages, he barely knows any strong warriors. In this world, magic is so broken that nobody even bothers with martial arts. Why train punches and kicks when someone can just delete you with a fireball? And that's when it hits him. There is one warrior who could train him, not probably, the most powerful warrior in the entire story. And somehow, Moon almost forgot the final boss has been living in the same house this whole time. His dad. In the last 100 years, no warrior has impacted the world more than him. At 15, he was already a royal guard. By 20, he crushed rebel forces. At 27, he became a marshal of the empire. At 32, he earned the title Lionheart King. He's never lost a single fight. This man is built different. At that moment, Moon realizes something uncomfortable. The original Moon kind of deserved his tragic ending. He had everything. A noble life, unlimited resources, and a father who could have taught him literally everything. And he still blew it. That's fine though, because from now on, Moon is asking for personal training. You'd expect the father to refuse, right? Nope. Instead, Anne knocks on the door and says the Duke is looking for him. Perfect timing. As Moon heads out, he runs into 2 maids. One of them's wearing glasses and shockingly, might be the first thin girl in the entire story. He notices they now refer to Anne as the head maid and congratulates her. Turns out the previous head maid resigned shortly after Moon woke up, so Anne took the position. Moon feels a little weird about that, wondering if it somehow happened because of him, but Anne tells him not to worry. She's still part of the household no matter what. That's when his mother suddenly hugs him in a way that feels excessive. Like, illustrator, let's calm down a bit. She's squeezing him, saying she wants him to call her mommy 1,000 times, then presses his head against her stomach and tells him to listen. Yep, she's pregnant. That means Moon's getting a little sibling. Right then, his father walks in and tells her to take it easy. The boy just recovered. No need to overwhelm him. A bit later, Moon learns his father is heading back to the front lines. Also, quick side note, the maid standing next to the Duke is absolutely massive. Clearly, the Duke personally hired the staff, and his taste is refined. He explains that he's leaving this afternoon and will be gone for at least a month. During that time, Moon has to stay in the capital. He turns to Miss Faye and says he's counting on her to take care of things. Moon tries to stop him. There are other generals. He's a duke. Why does he need to go personally? His father explains that after nearly a decade of silence, things have become urgent. Abyssal demons have been spotted near the borders. Moon knows what this really is. A distraction. The real invasion doesn't happen until 3 years later, when Ariel rises as the savior. The problem is is that 1 month is a lie. His father will probably be gone for 3 years, which completely destroys Moon's plan to train under him. A griffin-drawn carriage arrives. His father waves goodbye, telling his wife not to cry. He'll be back soon. Before leaving, he calls Moon over and tells him he was impressed. Risking his life to protect the princess took real courage. That was the bravery of a true knight. Campbell blood. He explains the family symbol. The sword represents strength. They are the blade of the empire. The dragon represents the enemy they must defeat. Every man in the family eventually steps onto the battlefield. He doesn't know if Moon will follow that path, but that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that Moon has become a real man, and because of that, his father promises to invest every resource he never had growing up so Moon can become even stronger. Then the conversation takes a turn. His father asks what Moon really thinks about Anne. Moon freezes. He says she's nice, but why bring that up? His father explains he's watched her grow up. She's from a good family, she's intelligent, and most importantly, she sees Moon as more than just her master. If Moon doesn't want to lose her, he needs to act soon. Then the Duke drops the real bomb. The family needs more heirs. His wife is only just now pregnant with their second child, and with him returning to the battlefield, there won't be time for more. Moon nervously points out that he's technically engaged to Celia. His father waves it off. That's just political. Even if they marry, Celia will be the main wife, and Anne can be the secondary. Then comes the final verdict. In 3 years, when he returns, Moon must have a child. That's it. What kind of ruthless father does this? Absolute nightmare scenario. As soon as his father leaves, Anne steps into the room and casually mentions she heard her name. She asks if Moon needs anything. Instead of dodging the topic, Moon goes full speed ahead. He tells her his dad said they need to have a child, but obviously it's a joke. She doesn't need to take it seriously. Her job is being a maid, and someday they'll go their separate ways. Then he somehow makes it worse. He tells her she's the perfect woman and that she'll definitely find an amazing guy someday, and when she does, all she has to do is tell him. He'll personally give her his blessing to leave. With maximum confidence, he puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her to be brave and go find her own happiness. Moon walks away feeling proud, convinced he just handled that perfectly. But yeah, no. Anne stands there shaking, rage simmering under her breath. She whispers that he really has changed. She can't wait any longer. It's going to have to be tonight. And here we are. Night falls and Moon lies in bed realizing nothing is going according to plan. He thought he'd finally get help from his father to grow stronger, but now the man is gone. Now Moon's on his own. No father, no shortcuts. For now, he's avoiding the academy entirely since half the people there orbit the all-powerful protagonist, and that would only make his situation worse. First things first, he needs to master the basics. Only after that can he even think about heading out into the world. He shuts one book after another, then grabs the black book. The moment he opens it, he realizes it's already recorded everything he read from the others. In fact, he doesn't even need to read properly anymore. Just glancing at the cover and flipping a few pages is enough to absorb the content. This thing is basically a speedrun tool for learning. Too bad that's exactly when Anne walks in, acting completely innocent, telling him to be careful not to strain his eyes. He brushes it off and asks if she brought him something to eat. She says yes. He tells her to go easy on him, but she calmly says that's part of her duties. She brought vintage wine, only 100 bottles made per year, worth over 200,000 coins. Moon says he's not in the mood. He wants to study, stay focused, no distractions, but the bottle starts cracking in her grip. She asks what he'd like to drink instead. He says coffee, something to keep him awake. She replies they only have wine or black tea, and immediately alarm bells go off. That sounds way too familiar. She hands him the cup, apologizing, saying the coffee beans were eaten by rats and she'll bring more tomorrow. And this absolute idiot doesn't even look at the cup. He drinks it. Instantly, his body reacts. The cup crashes to the floor. His vision blurs. He starts collapsing, asking why she betrayed him, but she catches him gently and says she would never do that. She tells him to sleep peacefully. She says her heart is broken. She loves him too much for him to say something like that. He's changed too much and now he needs to be purified with her love. He should accept it because they're going to be together forever until the world ends. He opens his eyes, hands and feet bound to a board, of course. The prophecy girl stands right in front of him. Seriously, this prophecy curse is doing way too much. She's already taking off her uniform, saying that damn black market never disappoints. Moon tries to ask what she's doing, but she shuts him down immediately. He knows exactly what she's doing. Then she drops the real bomb. 10 years ago, when he was only 8 years old, she stood by his side. From that moment on, her existence became his, and now his existence belongs to her. She needs to fix him, put him back on the right path. Moon has no idea what she's talking about and begs her to let him go, but she hushes him. No talking. She'll take care of everything tonight, head to toe, inside and out, his body, his soul, every scent, every strand of hair, every drop of blood, everything belongs to her. Well, at least he doesn't need to worry about impressing his dad anymore. She's definitely handling that. Honestly, I expected some kind of interruption, someone bursting in, something stopping this, but nope. He wakes up the next morning looking completely wrecked. It happens over and over. Lose consciousness, wake up halfway through, passes out again, then wake up once more. He can't believe it. The same person who originally ruined Moon's life and the same one chaining him up now was Anne all along. She took him down in a single hit. Even though he was mentally prepared, it still hurt like hell. He begs her to stop this madness, to unlock the cuffs and let him escape. She refuses immediately. Compared to the years she spent waiting, this pain is nothing. Alright, author, easy there. You're really skating the line. Moon pretends he's in agony, but deep down he admits the sensation felt incredible. Still, he knows if this continues, she's going to kill him. He needs to escape fast. The problem is he's locked in with steel cuffs bolted straight into the wall. When he tries to move, she calmly asks what he thinks he's doing. He says his wrists hurt and he just wanted to stretch a little. She tells him it's too late for that now. There's nothing she can do. She says she's gonna miss him terribly, but she has duties to handle around the mansion. Otherwise, people might start asking questions. She even wonders out loud if it might be easier to just kill everyone in the house now that he belongs to her. That snaps Moon out of everything. He panics and begs her not to do something like that. Before she finishes getting dressed, she asks if there's any maid he might be interested in. Hopefully not Noel. He yells that she's lost her mind. There's nothing like that going on. She laughs and tells him to relax. She's just teasing. As long as he behaves, she promises not to hurt anyone unless she absolutely has to. Moon begs her to let him go. There's no way she seriously plans to keep him locked in here forever. Suddenly, the magical cuffs click open with a snap of her fingers. She tells him not to try anything stupid. This room is a sealed space, reinforced with steel from some unknown tower. Translation: escape is basically impossible. He asks if no one will find his disappearance suspicious. She says she already told everyone that after hearing his father's speech, Moon decided to return to the academy. No one's going to question it for a while. She assures him she'll bring him 3 meals a day, just like always. Obviously, he should trust her. She's been doing this for years. And then, bam, she lands a clean hit. Moon's writhing in pain now. This is officially past the line. It's hard to believe anyone could agree to this level of insanity. She waves goodbye. He screams after her, but the door slams shut. He never could have guessed that out of everyone mentioned in the prophecy, it would be her. And every time he complains about how messed up this situation is, he keeps admitting the same thing. It felt way too good. But if this continues, he knows he won't survive. Even with all her talk about magical ceilings and sealed rooms, he still decides to test the door because he's not giving up yet. Moon grabs the door handle and yanks with everything he has, then instantly collapses to the floor in agony. The entire room is made of pure steel, reinforced with magic. There's no breaking out of this, no loopholes, no miracle. For once, the Black Book shows up without smacking him in the face. Moon tells it straight, he's finished, and has power and potential on the same level as Celia. Even if he trained non-stop, there's no way he'd catch up before dying. The book doesn't respond, it just stays open. Moon sighs. Honestly, there's nothing else to do. Sitting around feeling sorry for himself won't help. Might as well train. But when he opens the book properly, he realizes something insane. The book he read last night already covered this exact situation. Like it knew this would happen. Next chapter. By the time he looks up again, he's already knocked out 200 push-ups. Somehow his body is still holding together after that brutal night. First Celia, now Anne. What kind of cursed root did this guy fall into? The pain doesn't even bother him anymore. What really eats at him is the helplessness. He's always the one getting overpowered, always the one on the floor. Next time he swears, he'll be the one taking her down, and right on cue, she shows up. Anne smiles sweetly and says the day's work is over. Talk is cheap, Moon. Now let's see you act. She casually adds that she feels like a wife coming home after a long day, like this entire situation is completely normal. She brought him dinner and even prepared a bath at the perfect temperature. I don't even know how to describe this anymore. She asks what he wants first. Food? A bath? Or, you know. And after all that big talk, this lying little punk goes straight for the bath. He sinks into the water pretending to relax, but the look on his face says otherwise. He mutters that he's not a child and doesn't need help bathing. Someone please free this man before I get banned for narrating this. And calmly says that since his body belongs to her, taking care of it is her responsibility. She even checks his hearing while he's internally screaming that he absolutely cannot lose to this yandere. Dinner comes next. Moon thanks her, grabs the plate, and starts eating. He asks what kind of meat it is. She casually replies it's from a rare 3-horned giant bull, specially prepared because it boosts physical strength. He immediately tells her never to serve him that again. She smirks and says he's already eaten it dozens of times. She's been feeding it to him in secret. That's it, he snaps. He stands up and says he's done with this. He's locked away, hasn't seen sunlight, can't leave, and now she's feeding him mystery monster meat. If she doesn't let him out right now, down he goes, knocked out cold, again. Of course the food was cursed. She even whispers for him to enjoy it because the night is going to be long. When he wakes up, he's completely wrecked. Anne apologizes for the night before, saying she was scared he wouldn't survive, so she took it easier this time. Yeah, real comforting. Whatever confidence he had about dominating the situation, gone, crushed, obliterated. She tries to talk to him, but he ignores her completely, so she says since he's been a good boy for 2 straight days, she'll grant him one request. He immediately asks for freedom. Impossible. New clothes? Also impossible. He just stares at her like, what kind of wish system is this? She explains the highest level wish he can make right now is something like choosing what he wants to eat tomorrow. And I kid you not, people in the comments are saying they'd switch places with him just to take some of the heat. Moon sighs and admits fine. Choosing food is better than nothing. He thinks back to this season of the year. There was a wine he liked, and a specific fish. Anne mentions the fish comes from Lake Bipor, which is incredibly far away. Moon leans into it. He says he used to be a free spirit. Now he can't even choose what to eat. If he can't have a little fish from Lake Bipor, then what's the point of life? She calls his name, then sighs. Fine, she'll get it for him. Moon immediately grabs her arm and thanks her like she just saved his soul. He's laying it on thick now. Full charm mode. Tells her he's suffering, wishes her a great day at work, and says he'll be waiting at home for her. And completely short circuits. She freezes, then suddenly rushes in, kisses him, and runs off flustered. I genuinely don't know anymore. Is this 4D chess or pure instinct? As she leaves, she says the trip to Lake Bipor will take until tomorrow afternoon, so he should rest. Outside, she's barely holding herself together, muttering that she almost lost control. The young master is just too cute. She can't wait to bring him that fish and spoil him even more. Moon thinks, maybe, just maybe, he'll finally get a moment of peace. A full night's rest, which obviously means it's time to pull out the black book. If Anne's gone, he needs to grind. He selects a simulation called The Space of 1,000 Locks, based on one of the books he read, meant to level up his ability to break magical seals. Meanwhile, under heavy rain and brewing storms, someone warns Anne that Lake Bipor is extremely dangerous right now. She should turn back. When the man reaches for her hand, she activates her power and stabs him through it, saying no one but the young master is allowed to touch her. Try to stop her again, and she'll feed him to the fish. The old man mutters that if the crazy woman wants to die, he won't stop her, but she should know the truth. Lake Bipor's master is awake. The guild confirmed it's a monarch-class creature. Anne raises her hands and goes, so that's why the weather's acting weird. The boatman grumbles that she'd better leave him 300 coins. He's got an injured hand now, and more than that, she shouldn't mess with the Adventurers Guild. They won't let her walk away clean. Anne doesn't even blink. She's got an entire bucket of coins sitting frozen in the ice. The boatman asks her one last time if she really plans to go. Does she understand how dangerous this is? Does she realize what it means to make enemies of the main Adventurers Guild? She flatly says she doesn't care. None of that matters. She's doing this for love. Cut to a group of adventurers gathered near Lake Bipor. One girl gripping a staff is panicking, saying nothing can happen to Rod. After this mission, she's finally going to confess her feelings. Someone snaps at her to focus. This is not the time. Erica is the healer. If she doesn't cast now, the whole team is done. She snaps out of it and starts channeling magic as another adventurer shouts that the creature is coming. After tanking a ridiculous number of special attacks, the lake finally explodes. A massive shark erupts from the water. The master of the lake. The thing starts charging a huge water bomb. Someone screams Rod's name and he activates a blessing of the earth, throwing up a barrier. He yells for the mage to fire. She starts chanting through her staff, multitasking like a monster since she's both a healer and a mage. Just before her spell lands, another explosion goes off. Rod takes the opening, charges forward, and lands a direct slash to the creature's head. The entire lake detonates. Exhausted but standing, he turns around and gives a thumbs up, saying it's done. Honestly, this party is stacked. Powerhouse mage, dedicated healer, perfect balance. The mage smiles, fixing her hair, getting praised, while poor Erika just sits there feeling invisible. Rod and Tia compliment each other, talking about how great it is to adventure side by side. Meanwhile, Erika is dying inside. She made a promise with Rod when they were kids that they'd always be a duo. She worked non-stop to keep up, but now she's just support, watching him drift closer to someone else. Tia keeps healing Rod when suddenly he calls out to Erika, telling her to snap out of it and help dissect the monster. That's when something feels wrong. The lake surface turns dark again. A strange sound echoes. Then boom, water blasts straight into the sky. Everyone ducks as another lake beast rises. This one's different. This one's real. Tia immediately launches a massive third-tier spell, but it does absolutely nothing. The magic slams into the creature's neck and fizzles. The beast counters by calling down a thunderstorm from its horn. Lightning rips through the sky. Erika grabs Rod and yanks him back, yelling at him to be careful. He tells her to move. This thing is way beyond them. When she asks what he's doing, he answers without hesitation. He's protecting Tia. He brought her into the party. It's his responsibility. Even if it means dying, he's ready to die by her side. Yeah, that one hurt. Rod charges forward as someone watches silently from a distance. Of course, it's Anne. She wanted to see a monarch-class beast up close. If dragons were this strong, she figured she might finally get the right part to feed the young master. Why is she always trying to feed him monster meat anyway? The beast charges another lightning strike. Rod knows it. This is the end. But suddenly, Anne casts a binding spell. Lightning crashes down, not on the party, but on the monster itself. When Rod looks again, the creature is collapsing back into the lake. Even its attack got canceled mid-cast. Anne calmly checks if Erika is hurt, then tells her to stay back. She'll handle this. She activates another restriction, and Erika realizes what's happening. This woman is manipulating liquid metal. Blades form mid-air, piercing the monster from every direction. Anne floats forward like she's walking on air, casually forging a sword as she goes. She says the monster will pay for scaring away the fish she came all this way to catch for the young master. One clean slash. The monarch-class beast is cut clean in half and sinks back into the depths. Rod stands there in disbelief. A monster like that, erased instantly. Yeah, Moon's got a long way to go if he ever wants to escape her. Erika rushes to Rod, checking on him. He's fine, but Tia's injured badly. The healing potions won't be enough. Rod tells Erika to go talk to that woman. Anyone who can kill a monarch beast like that would be an insane addition to the party. Anne, meanwhile, is already at the lake's edge gathering fish. Only problem, she forgot to ask which ones the young master actually likes. That's when Erika approaches and tells her the two she picked aren't edible. One smells awful when cooked and the other's highly toxic. She should grab the other two near the front instead. Those are the famous edible fish from Lake Bipor. Anne pauses, curious, and asks how Erika knows that. Erika explains she used to live nearby. A lot of nobles like those fish, so she'd catch and sell them. After watching Anne prep for barely 15 minutes, she already understands exactly how to handle them properly. That's when Erika asks the obvious question, did Anne really come all this way to get fish for someone she loves? Anne answers without hesitation. Yes, the person she loves wanted fish, so she came. Erika smiles sadly and says that to be loved like that, and to receive that kind of devotion, the person must be incredibly lucky. Anne pauses, briefly reflecting on what receiving her love currently looks like, which mostly involves a guy unconscious in a sealed steel room, and calmly replies that yes, he's very lucky. She's certain Erika understands the depth of her love. Anne turns to leave, but Erika stops her. She says it's about love. She has a problem and wants advice from a mature woman like her. Anne sets the fish down and says love is exactly the kind of problem where the answer isn't always clear. But since Erika helped her with the fish, she'll return the favor. Erika starts with the classic setup. Her friend has liked someone for a very long time. She's shy, a little naive, and now there's another woman involved. Ever since then, the guy has been treating the new girl better, so her friend is thinking about giving up. Anne listens quietly and then asks one simple question. How much does this friend love him? Erika panics and says it's not her. It's really a friend. Anne cuts her off immediately. Enough. Just say it. Erika finally admits the truth. Yes, it's her. She's loved him since they were kids, over 10 years. Anne looks her straight in the eyes and asks if she would give her life for him. Erika doesn't hesitate. Not just her life. She'd give everything, even if the entire world stood against her. And there it is. Another one completely off the rails. Anne nods and says it sounds like Erika already has her answer. If her love really runs that deep, there's nothing left to ask. She needs to follow the true voice of her heart and give everything to the one she loves. And most importantly, she should think carefully before making any choice she might regret later. later. As Anne walks away, Erika stands there replaying those words in her head. Follow your heart. Give everything. Suddenly, a strange flame ignites, not around her, but inside her. A voice whispers, asking if she's really willing to give up, if she's really going to surrender. It tells her to abandon morality, laws, even her own life, to sacrifice it all so no one else can take him away. Yeah, this world is a ticking time bomb. Erika starts trembling, muttering that she'll lose her mind if someone else ends up with Rod. The voice responds calmly, saying she finally understands. If she truly wants him to belong to her, she'll need to break him, break his arms, put a collar on him, reduce him to nothing more than a pet. The demons in this world are on a completely different level. Meanwhile, Rod is sitting beside Tia, practically praying over her injuries. He asks Erika if she's okay and what happened with that other woman. Erika says she's fine. The woman didn't do anything, just ran out of mana. The only issue is that she's a maid from a noble family, so she can't join their party. Rod sighs and says that's unfortunate. He just wanted to thank her properly. Tia agrees. Without that woman, they'd all be dead. Then Tia notices something strange, a weird mark on Erika's chest. Erika immediately covers it and brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Probably recoil or magical backlash. She'll check it later. Rod lifts Tia into his arms and says they need to find somewhere to rest. The two of them walk off together, soft and flirty, while Erika watches from behind, eyes dark. Something is very wrong. Next morning, Moon wakes up looking completely wrecked. Probably trained all night, because of course Anne is already back, announcing she's returned. At this point, I'm convinced he's playing some kind of long-term mental chess game. He puts on an act, saying he missed her so much he thought he'd die if he didn't see her again. Anne strokes his face gently and says it looks like he's finally ready to give her his body and soul. She apologizes for taking so long. Lake Bipor was far, but she brought back the freshest fish just like he asked, and she did not hold back. 5 perfect cuts, 3 herbs, straight into the oven. The presentation is absurd. Moon's hyped. It smells amazing. He reaches for it, but she makes airplane noises and feeds him herself. He thanks her and suggests she try it too. She shakes her head. Not this time. This one is just for him. She warns him to be careful. Fish have a lot of bones. He scoffs, saying he's not a kid. Immediately, a bone gets stuck in his throat. Anne leans in and calmly says she'll take care of it. He panics. How? She explains, dead serious, that she'll press her lips to his, use her lung capacity to pull it out and clear his airway. He tells her she's insane. That doesn't even make sense. Life, however, is cruel. Next chapter. She cheerfully announces the problem is solved. Bone removed. Moon mutters a tired thank you and keeps eating just to get her to stop talking. Eventually, he finishes the plate and admits it really was excellent fish. Now, take a wild guess what she wants to do next. He shuts it down immediately. Not now, he needs a break. She switches tactics and asks if he's already getting tired of her. But Moon is slick. He explains that exercising right after eating is bad for the body. It could even cause complications if a child were conceived in that condition. Anne hears none of the logic, only concern. She gets emotional and agrees. He makes a good point. She'll come back tonight to continue their work. Before leaving, she casually mentions passing through Sevite, a city famous for custom outfits. He asks why that matters. She says she bought a new combat outfit, armored, aggressive, very bold. Just from his expression, you already know what he's thinking. He immediately says he's not into that stuff. He's a man of integrity. Anne smiles. She says she's been around a long time. She's seen every magazine he owns, and the reason she always wears those black stockings, it was always for him. Moon just freezes. He honestly thought the black stockings were just Anne's personal fashion choice. Turns out, nope, they were for him. And yeah, he can't even lie. She absolutely nailed it. He liked them. Anne laughs, calls him adorable, waves goodbye like this is all completely normal, and tells him to take a nap. Just like that, she's gone, and Moon is still locked in that room. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really hoping this guy escapes soon, because sure, from the outside it doesn't look that bad, but come on, you can't just stay locked in a steel room forever. Actually, scratch that. Spoke way too soon. Moon's already on his feet, activating his skills and moving straight for the door. And here's the genius part. He asked for that fishbone on purpose. He's using it as a makeshift lockpick. The moment he starts working on the mechanism though, a trap triggers. 12 razor-sharp cuts snap through the lock. He recoils instantly, cursing under his breath. There's no way something this insane was meant to be opened manually. According to the theory from one of the books he read, he has to lift each pin to the exact height without snapping the fishbone to trigger the release. The problem? He only managed to hide 4 fishbones, and this lock needs 12 perfect perfect attempts. If a bone breaks inside and Anne finds it, it's game over. He tries again. Snap. That's already 3 broken. An hour and a half passes. She could be back with food any second. Moon frantically calls out to the book, cramming last-second knowledge into his brain. Brute forcing won't work. At least now he knows the exact pin height for the first 10. It all comes down to the final 2. All or nothing. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, 2 maids chat casually. Erica tastes the fish Anne prepared and admits it's incredible. Creatures from Lake Bipor are no joke. Anne thanks her, saying she finished cooking an hour early thanks to her help. But Erica starts wondering, why is Anne suddenly learning new recipes? The young master supposedly left for the academy. The madam is pregnant and staying at another estate. And yet, Anne keeps making extra food. That's strange. Anne's hand subtly shifts toward her knife. Mana starts gathering. Erica immediately blurts out, "Oh, you're hiding a secret pet, right? Probably a cute little cat." Crisis averted. She explains the old heads of the house never allowed pets, but now it makes sense. Anne exhales, smiles, and tells her to keep it a secret. Erica agrees and says she'd love to see the pet someday. Anne replies gently, maybe one day, he's just shy and easily scared. As she walks away, Anne thinks to herself how relieved she is she didn't have to go with the worst case scenario, killing Erica and cleaning it up. But the conversation sparks another thought. Keeping Moon locked up like this might wear him down. He could get bored, worse, resentful, and besides, nothing's happening yet. The pregnancy hasn't even started. That means at least 10 more months. Maybe she should get him a pet. A cat could help him relax, or better yet, she'll just ask him what he wants. Her expression suddenly changes. The tray slips from her hands. Food crashes to the floor. When she reaches the room, the door is wide open. Moon is gone. Let's go. He's hiding in a rundown wing of the mansion. Furniture smashed, dust everywhere. The place looks abandoned. He stumbles forward and crashes to the ground, coughing as grime fills his lungs. The lighting is awful, but thanks to his body's memories, he knows exactly where he is. And there's one spell this useless body actually remembers. The light orb. He casts at it. This is it. He just needs to get out before she finds him. A knife slams into the wall inches from his head. Moon gasps. There's no way. He ran too far. She couldn't have caught him already. Then he hears it. That calm voice from the shadows. I finally found you. Now like on this video that helps Meowie make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell and I'm out of here. Merry Christmas, y'all.